Okay. What we're going to be doing, and this is going to be the first of a series of lessons in practical metaphysics. And what we will be doing here is understanding what metaphysics is, the energies that are involved, and how those energies can be used, and how you can use metaphysics to make your life better or help other people. And there are basically 30 lessons to the course, and we'll be doing 2 lessons a week. And we will be doing a lesson, discussing it, take a break, and then do the second lesson, then the same thing. And then after this week, before we get started on the next lessons, we will see if there are any questions that anybody has from the week before, so we can address those and take care of that and get that cleared up. Is everybody all right with that? Okay, terrific. Now, the 2 lessons that we're going to be covering today, this is the course itself is the key to unfoldment. And the 2 lessons that we're going to be doing today are the kingdom within and thinking. And like I say, if you want to supplement your notes, please feel free to email me, and I will scan the lessons and attach them for email to you.
Kingdom within and unfoldment.
Right, the key to self-unfoldment.
Oh, okay.
So to begin, first off, of course, the name of the course is the key to self-unfoldment, which implies a basic truth on which the entire course of study is built. If there is to be no self-unfoldment, the self within the individual must be capable of development, and this truth must be of universal significance, applying to every individual. The hypotheses upon which we will erect our structure of thought is this: each individual coming into the world is animated by the real self within, this self being capable of unlimited unfoldment, having come to the earth for the purpose of its own evolution. We're all aware of that. The physical body and the mentality are the manifestations of the inner self, as are also environment and all the experiences of life. As progress is made, the manifestations of life change, and sometimes such rapid advancement is made that it is difficult to recognize a certain person after a while. Apparently, and in reality, they are a different individual. They become a different individual. Jesus understood this truth when he was but a child, for he said to his parents, "Know you not that I must be about my Father's business?" We may liken the individual to a kingdom presided over by a king. Regardless of the size of the country or the number of its inhabitants, its success is in proportion to the orderliness with which it conducts its internal and external affairs. And the condition of its foreign relations will depend largely upon the character of its domestic relations, which gets to the metaphysical principle that if you have not peace within yourself, how can you find peace around you?
Can you read that first part again about the individual comes to earth as their true self? I'm sorry, there was something there I wanted to catch.
Yeah, I missed something there too.
Okay.
It was right at the beginning.
Let's see. The hypotheses upon which we erect our structure of thought is this: each individual coming into the world is animated by the real self, which some would, I guess you could equate that to the overself. All right. Because the physical is transient. It's just a vehicle that the overself can function through in the physical world. And continuing on with that, each individual coming into the world is animated by the real self within, this self being capable of unlimited unfoldment, having come to the earth for the purpose of its own evolution. Is that what you were referencing to?
Yeah, it was just, I don't know why my brain went eek on that part, but, yeah, and then can you just read that whole thing again? I'm sorry.
Okay, no. The physical body and the mentality are the manifestations of this inner self, as are also environment and all the experiences of life. As progress is made, the manifestations of the life change, and sometimes such rapid advancement is made that it is difficult to recognize a person. After a while, apparently and in reality, they become a different person, a different individual.
So they evolve.
They evolve, yeah. As you transmute the qualities, the negative qualities, into positive qualities, you inevitably have to change. And change comes from within. Okay? Moving on, the affairs of the kingdom are centered in the head or kind, and the greatness and intelligence of the king produce satisfactory conditions among the subjects or citizens of that kingdom. In other words, the mind is the powerhouse, and the rest of it is subject to the mind. You know, a small kingdom may be fortunate enough to have its authority vested in an individual or group of individuals who conduct state and affairs of state in a wise, just way, thus establishing peace and prosperity within the boundaries of the kingdom. On the other hand, there are countries vast in size, great from the standpoint of their natural resources, but because of unwise leadership and lack of cooperation on the part of the people, chaos and disorder reign. This discord and lack of harmony extend beyond their borders, and external conflict results. So in essence, if you have conflict within yourself, you're not going to find an ordered world around you, because that will extend outward, because it's all energy. And as you know, the body has basically two energy fields around it. It has the auric energy field and the etheric energy field, and those extend out. So whatever is going on internally is going to be reflected in that energy field, and as you come in contact with things, other people or whatever, that energy field is going to impact upon their energy field, and you either have harmony or you're going to have strife. And some people who can see auras and sense etheric energy fields, they can use their skills to heal that energy field by smoothing over and negating the disharmonious aspects of the energy. That's why some people who are healers, they don't heal the body so much as they start healing the energy field, because that directly works upon the body.
Now, when there's like a sickness in the body, does that show,
Yeah.
just as a reminder, does that show in the etheric or does that show in the auric?
Well, it's the etheric. Well, it can show in
Is
both.
there real close
The etheric energy field is like a sheath that surrounds you. It's doesn't extend out but just a few inches, depending on the individual. The aura, on the other hand, extends out like an egg shape, as they generally describe it. And if there is an illness in the body, it will be noticeable in both the etheric and the auric energy fields. And that's why you have some psychic healers who, that's what they do. That's how they heal. They channel energy through their hands to the energy fields, because healing the energy field inevitably has to heal the body. And generally that works very well. Now moving on, we find that to be successful, a nation must have a wise and just ruler and a sincere and loyal citizenship. The individual is a kingdom within himself. This kingdom has many parts and millions of intelligent subjects, for science has proved that the cells of the body possess intelligence. Then, if the cells of the body are intelligent, they must be subject to training and teaching by those in authority in this kingdom, mind over matter. As these cells are peaceful and live together harmoniously, there will be peace and harmony in the environment and affairs of life. Disturbances within the kingdom, however, manifest as strife and discord in life's experiences. That's why you have people who, as soon as they get up, they're at battle with the world, because that's their energy field. Their energy impacts the surrounding world with a negative quality that makes strife, and that's all they know is just strife. And until they heal that energy field and transmute that energy into a positive way, they're going to have misery.
But you really can't do anything to help them until they're willing to.
That's right, right. Well, and besides that, we are governed to the extent of our understanding by a principle that we may not interfere unless we're asked to interfere. We do not have the right to unilaterally interfere in someone's life and affairs. That's like playing God, and we're not gods.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't believe for myself, but maybe I'm wrong, that it's interfering if you send good thoughts to
You
someone.
can send good thoughts, but
Or if you
yeah, you
ask
can.
their higher self. to
Well, you
help
can do
them.
that, but beyond that,
But not
reckon.
look at the outcome.
To send
Right.
healing, you couldn't, you
Right.
shouldn't do that.
Because, you know, it's difficult to know if a person's difficulties are a learning experience for them. And, you know, by
I
making
want them
them,
to fix them.
right, you could be interfering with a life learning experience that they're supposed to go through. I mean, it's something that's just really difficult to deal with and to know. So that's why, you know, I've always been taught over the decades that you don't interfere unless you're asked. And if a person asks, well, then that's part of their healing, because they're learning a lesson that you can call upon an outside individual to help. And these are people generally who, you know, they'd rather beat their head against the wall than admit to someone they need help. So it's something that's, you know, we have to be very careful about. And the more involved you get and the more aware and enlightened you become, the more the drive to want to help, the greater the restraint you have to exercise. Because though you have the will to do it and the power to do it, do you have the right?
Sometimes we want to help, you know, like we say, we feel compassion, you know, I think, oh, maybe
Yeah.
I can help that person. But I guess it's not such a good idea.
You know, well, like I say, you could be interfering with something that they have to do in their own life. And maybe what they need to do is reach out and ask for help. I mean, you just can't really know.
You can make suggestions about
Right.
certain things, right?
Right, you can make suggestions, but, you know, it's, you know, philosophically, I've always held, and I was always taught that you don't directly interfere unless you're asked. You can send good thoughts and whatnot, and wish them well, but until there is a call to action, you really have to sort of sit on the sidelines and sit on your hands.
Yeah, because like the masters don't help us.
Right.
You know, so.
Right, you know, and it's sort of, it's you know, it's like Socrates. He taught with the Socratic method, which means that he sat there in silence until someone asked a question, and he'd answer the question. You know, if nobody asked a question, there was no answers. That's probably why they poisoned him. But it's you know, it's an ethical question, if you want to look at it that way. So I've always made it a habit that if you ask, I will help. If you don't ask, then I wish you well, and I hope that it's a learning experience that you benefit from. So, but that's just the way I've always been taught.
You think the Christ did it that way?
Yeah.
You really think?
I think so.
Okay.
And now, I think there are exceptions, you know, where, like the incident with the blind man, and, you know, I think personally the blind man was probably better off not seeing the ills of the world than seeing them. But, you know, the raising of Lazarus and whatnot, I think, you know, there can be exceptions. I won't say there aren't any, but there can be. But you have to judge very carefully what you do, because, you know, anything that you do not only affects the individual that you're dealing with, but all the individuals that they come in contact with. So, I mean, you know, if you just can't really know for sure.
And
You-
yourself, that could affect you, right?
Right. You know, it's like, not meaning to put any pressure, but as a teacher with a group of students, when I share what I know, I become responsible for everything you do or don't do with that energy and knowledge. I carry that with me. That's my responsibility.
It's true.
As long as you, like if you do send like the different rays or whatever, to try to send just that generically to people, or you let the masters send through you.
Right.
As long as you send to their higher self so that their higher self will filter it, can you do that or should you do that without being asked?
Well, see, that's, that's gonna be the question that's always gonna face you no matter what.
Yeah.
Because how do you know that it's not the higher self that's trying to teach the body a lesson?
Well, if it was, would the higher self just filter it out then?
Well, it's,
Knowing that the person needed a lesson?
well, it depends. If you're adamant in the assistance, it might just, it may not filter it out.
Oh, it may not.
Right.
Oh.
I mean, it's.
Oh, so if you said like for their highest good, maybe, or?
Well, you could, it's a technicality, you could probably do that. I generally just wish them well, and let that just put that energy out just like that, and let it take whatever form that it needs to take.
Mhm.
And that way, you don't build up a karmic action with that. So it's okay just to send this, I wish you well. And whatever happens, it's in your ballpark, Because otherwise, then, if you put energy directly into something that you shouldn't be putting it into, then you technically become responsible for that individual and what they do or they don't do. I mean, the karmic implications are can just get out of hand. So that's why, in metaphysics and in healings or whatever, you have to really gauge what it is that you're doing and the purpose and the intent, and hope that, it's going to be as it's supposed to be. But unfortunately, you may not always know until all of a sudden, there seems to, there be roadblocks or things crop up that just come out of the blue, unexpected. So it's a fine line that we walk. But, that's what we do. We take the chances. We try to make things better for other people.
So it would come back to us right away in this life, say we
Well,
are in this kind of situation,
the more enlightened you are, the more instant the repercussions.
yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
really true.
We don't have the benefit of several lifetimes waiting for it.
I don't want to.
So, I mean, it's we're bound to, by what we know and understand, to a life of service to others. But we have to be very careful about the limits that there are, that we can, that we are governed by.
Because we affect their karma and we affect our
Right.
own karma at the same time.
Right. See, because, it's like, just right offhand, just like, say there is a person who is really a nefarious type of person, but you like them, and they're having a problem, a physical problem that, it's, the outcome is almost certain death or whatever, and you, out of the goodness of your heart, you put energy into them, and you cause them to be healed, and then they go out and kill someone. You become responsible for that. Because if they would have died, that killing may have never happened. See, that's why you have to gauge very carefully.
Are you sure of that?
Yeah,
Really?
Even if they ask?
yeah.
If they ask, okay.
Well, if you're intuitive enough, you'll see what their energy is. And you'll say, I'm sorry, but, I'd like to, but I can't.
So what are some guidelines to know when to help and when not to help?
Well, that's just the thing, sometimes you never know until after the fact. And you use your best judgment. But those are the things that you have to think about. If I do this, how is this going to affect someone else? And do I have a right to affect them? It's not cut and dry anymore, you know, it's,
Oh, that's amazing, actually.
yeah, it's a lot to think about and a lot to consider.
But we're talking about like hardcore healing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about getting in there and if they're really sick, you know, with a terminal illness, then we get in there and alter that, then I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about, but we're not talking about if like somebody's in a crisis situation and we go in there and talk with them and help them, stop them from being suicidal.
Right, yeah,
That's a little different,
that's,
right?
that's
I mean,
different, yeah.
Okay,
Because usually about that point, they're crying out for help.
okay,
All right,
Right.
and, you know, that's a pretty loose parameter there, you know, what, are they actually crying out for help or whatever, but, you know, if they're just looking for someone to talk to, there's your opening.
What about giving somebody, helping somebody with money? Is that sort of not a good idea either?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, you know, if a personal friend has difficulties or whatever, and you lend money, you know,
Give.
yeah, it just, and they promise to pay it back, and I've been guilty of that myself, and I just, you know, when I offer it, I just pretty much give it up as I'll never see it again. Which is okay, you know, and you have to be okay with that. And, you know, you do it as an outward gesture without consideration of what comes back.
Yeah, because we're supposed to do service, so there's really
Yeah.
two things you have to consider. You know, you're supposed to do service, but then you shouldn't help always.
Right, right. I mean, if you have a friend who drinks a lot and you know is just, you know, that type of person that enjoys the beverage and they need money to go buy alcohol, are you doing them a favor by lending it to them? See? So once again, it's like with energy, you know, what do you anticipate the individual is going to do with that you give to them? Understanding that you may not get anything back. You know, it's like the old saying that, you know, it's like the person who has a friend who is always threatening to commit suicide, and the friend always interferes and stops them. At some point, you're just content to stand back and let them go ahead and do it. Any more questions about that? And then we can move along. Okay. Now, dealing with the cells, some of the cells possess more intelligence than others. The cells of the brain have such intelligence that they are capable of leadership to a high degree. They connect the individual through the five senses with the world without, with the outside world. The cells of the sympathetic nervous system also possess a high degree of intelligence, but the knowledge in this intelligence comes from memory within instead of from the world without. All the wisdom of the ages is stored within the subconscious mind and may be drawn upon as the individual is able to raise himself in consciousness to higher planes. The superconscious mind connects man with God or universal mind and makes them one with all creation. And that's the ultimate goal in metaphysics, and that was the goal of the ancient Egyptians, to get to that point where if you look up at the stars at night, you lose identity. You surrender personal identity, and you become one with everything that exists. There is no separateness at all. You just melt into it. And you just feel the cosmic breath itself, the light, the pulse of the universe itself. As an individual, you don't feel it, but in an extended state, you become one with that creation. And unfortunately, we can't stay in that state that long because that separates us from the real world too long, and we're just not capable of doing that for an extended period of time, because I've done that, and you know, it's such a pleasant experience. Why would you ever want to come back here?
Yeah.
So that's the discipline, to realize that you still have work to do here. But that's the ultimate goal, and that's why the philosophic saying is, we are not gods, but we may be of the mind of God for short periods. We can experience that universal consciousness for a short period. And besides that, the energy levels involved would probably burn out the body, because you're dealing with a higher level of energy there. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes.
You know, you keep saying that we're not gods, but you know, Jesus himself said to the people, don't you know ye are gods?
Well, but here's the
You
thing,
know,
right, here's the
so-
thing. Like with the Star of David, the hexagram, two interlaced triangles, all right? The triangles represent the individual and the deity. Interlaced, one over the other inverted, is saying that as above, as divine, so below the individual, but after a different fashion. So as the Creator can create, the inference is that on a lesser scale, we also can create. Because that energy, we can draw that energy down and use that in the act of creation. So we cannot do that constantly. So we are not gods, but we can be of the mind of God for short periods. We can be one with that Creator and utilize that creation process. But because the body is physical, the energies involved, the body just, you know, just couldn't withstand that constant, doing that on a constant basis. So, you know, you can do it for short periods, but the body, the energy would deplete the body, and you have to give the body a chance to rejuvenate itself. Because sometimes you may be transferring your own life energy in the process, and that requires extended rejuvenation, depending on what you have available to re-energize that energy that you've sent out.
You know, that reminds me, I used to have a tagline, you are a God, create your universe wisely.
Yeah.
And for me, I try to keep that, like, you know, that decision, if you get up and you fall out of bed, you either make a decision to, you know, grumble and be pissed about it and be angry, or just say, oh, you know, rub it off and go forward with a positive attitude. To me, that's kind of how I think about that saying. You know, it's you create every single second of your day by choosing how you think about it, how you think about your challenges, and you can go left or you can go right, whichever stop sign you come to. To me, it's like that's how you create, that's how you're a god. It's like you have power over that. You have power over your world. So that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, well, right, and another example of that is if the magicians of today and yesteryear, and I'm not talking about the stage magicians who do sleight of hand and all of that. I'm talking about the people who work in the circle, all right, and they cast a circle around them, and what they are doing is they're creating a miniature universe of which they are the lord of. All right, as there is an outer universe, all right, and a lord of that universe, so in that circle they become the creator in that circle, and they can do healings that in that circle that carry on into the outside world. So it's like as above, so below, but after a different fashion. So in a microcosm, they can create to their level what the Creator can create in the macrocosm, the greater universe. And it's all a relationship thing. And when you understand how this works, you can really be effective. You can use your energies effectively.
I just thought that, you know, once we have reached the state of ascension, we don't have to come back here anymore, you know, that maybe then we are, you know, like a god, but
Yeah.
not the god.
Well, but
lesser
here,
god, you know.
yeah, but here's the thing about that. See, you know, if you accept the concept of karmic principles, that you come back and you keep coming back until you learn all the lessons that you learn, okay, at some point you become a teacher. But this is not the only world, and it's not the only dimension. And so you, once you become, you reach a point where you may be a teacher here, when you finish your lessons that you need to learn, which at that point you've probably got, you know, pretty much got things down pretty straight, well, you may get shipped off to another place, and you may be starting at the bottom there, but on a higher plane, and then, you know, you're going through the process there. I mean, there are worlds upon worlds and dimensions upon dimensions, and sentient beings are not restricted to just this. You know, the physical body is limited by the physical limitations of the universe. The mind has no limitations. because it's not in itself, the energy which makes it function is not an energy that is confinable.
Right.
So if you take the first principle of energy, that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only altered in form, you're here in an energy animated form, and you're learning, you're doing. When the form is not going to last forever, it wears out. That's the nature of the beast. But that which animated it continues on. And you don't get to, it's nice to think that, once this is over with, you get to go someplace where you can sit back and relax for the rest of eternity. It doesn't work that way. There's always work to do,
That's true.
and there's always things to learn. And the more you learn, the closer that brings you back to the creative source from which everything emanated.
Well, if there is nothing to learn, then.
What's the purpose of existence?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, any more? Okay, if we'd like, we'll move on. Continuing on, dealing with the universal mind and the kingdom. Over this kingdom in the individual presides the I am. And we're all familiar with the I am consciousness, I am awareness. That elusive something of which we all speak so freely and have so little knowledge, it is the real self, the inner individual, who is on this journey to complete self-expression. For the time being, this person is on the earth plane expression through a physical body. The many different experiences of life are necessary for the full and complete development of the individual, which is, karmically you come back and you over and over again until you learn everything you need to know. And some theories say that you come back as both male and female and of every race on the planet, because each one has their own things they have to work through. That's one theory about karma. I won't say it is or it isn't true, but you get to a point of